Hi, welcome to the Drama Free Living Podcast. It's Dennis and Lisa McIntee. And Lisa, I'm super excited about today. We're going to talk about goal setting. It's becoming the beginning of the year. We're at the end of 2023. And so we're going to spend the next 4 sessions just talking about different ways to goal set and the importance and maybe some different skills. And so what I think would be really helpful is we're going to come through a lot of information, but if people just get one thing, right? So they get one thing and really make sure that it matches to who you are, right? What you do flows out of who you are. So make sure not all of these ideas are going to work for people, but maybe just take 1 or 2. And Lisa, as we're kind of starting the beginning of the year, what are some things you're excited about?
Well, first I want to say that we are giving a lot of different methods, ideas, roadblocks, mistakes, suggestions, because each one of us is unique and we're not all the same. We have different gifts. We have different talents. You know, if you take any type of psychometric analysis type tool, it's going to show us all over the board. And so what works for your mentor or your spouse or your higher up is not necessarily going to work for you. So don't compare yourself to someone else. Really go through and think, okay, how am I wired? What works for me? What do I need in my life right now? And what do I want 2024 to look like? And tailor it to you, because that's how you can be successful. And that's why we are focusing 4 podcasts just to make your year 2024 incredibly successful.
Because that's what we want for you. And Lisa, as we kind of started, I was just thinking, like, what are we excited about 2024? Here's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about all the free time. Why do you laugh?
Because I never
know what's going to come out of my mouth.
I never know what's going to come out of your mouth.
Exactly. No, I'm thinking about the different free days and some of the different things that we've got planned. And I'm just looking at 2024. It's going to be one big adventure. And I have no idea sometimes what's going to happen, right? We're going to take a guess and a bet, and we're going to let 24 roll out, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
I guess for 2024, I'm looking forward to figuring out what is going to come out of your head and your mouth next, because, it's an adventure.
Yeah, we're going to create something, right? And what I love about the future is really it's all made up.
Well, but also I'm excited about where we as a company are going, and just some of the changes and growth and development that we're making, and the things that we're doing that to make a greater impact and to make a bigger difference in people's lives.
Fun stuff. So let's
we've got some exciting things planned.
We do. So stay tuned. It's exciting things in 2024. We're going to roll out some new projects. So let's just kind of walk through maybe this particular episode, and let's go through some of the different types of goal setting. Now, this was fascinating, Lisa, because we sort of said, hey, let's think about all the different ways people goal set. And Lisa, there's so many.
There's so many methods out there. Well, and there's so many methods out there because there's so many different types of people, industries, abilities, intelligence levels, emotional intelligence levels.
Yeah.
And so we all need different methods. And so we are going to highlight several.
Yeah. So we just picked 11. We said, hey, let's talk about these because we think maybe these are the most impactful.
And one of the ones that might work for you, or there might be 3 that work really well for you, but those aren't necessarily going to be the ones that will work for me. And also different seasons of your life, you need to do different types of goal setting, just because you never know what's going to come up.
Yeah. And so here's the thing. We don't care which goal setting method you use. Just do it. Okay. Just do it. All right. And so I think as I was thinking about sort of the importance of goal setting is it really helps you prioritize. So at least I was thinking about, this is probably 5 or 6 years ago, where we had some friends over and we're sitting out at the fire pit and just enjoying ourselves, having a great conversation, a roaring fire. And one particular person, he just started talking about that. He just doesn't goal set. Right? He doesn't set goals. He doesn't do any planning. And I was sitting there, and that's so odd for me being an Enneagram 3. And, that is just very odd to me that somebody would say that. But it hit me. And I remember asking him, I said, well, okay, if you don't goal set, I said, well, how do you know what to do today? How do you know what to do next week? How do you know what to do next month?
And that really hurt your brain.
It really did. But what was funny is it just kind of stopped him. Because sometimes we don't realize that the future is going to happen anyways. At the end of the day, we're going to be older next year, and so the future is going to happen. So why don't we sort of like make some plans to create it how we want it to be? And so I think with goal setting, it really helps you prioritize because not everything can be the number one thing.
Well, and it helps you improve your time management. So rather than just letting life pass you by, it allows you to kind of grab life and make it what you want. So.
Well, and it helped, like my thoughts for tomorrow really plan my today. Right? The 2 or 3 high priorities today really have this overarching, we're going somewhere and today's taking me to that somewhere. And so the 3 things that I'm focused on today, it really helps me manage my time today because I want this in the future.
Right.
So I think that's part of the value is it really helps you prioritize and manage your time, and it helps you make the most out of every day. And even if it's a day off, right? It's the purpose of the day off is to connect with these relationships that matter to me. It's to rejuvenate. And so even a day where I don't even have something on my calendar, it still has a purpose.
Right. And I always ask, so what's the objective? And we laugh about it because I'm always wanting to know what the objective. I want to know.
Well, and people laugh at us because they tell us, well, you're the only couple that on a free day you have an objective.
Well, we're the only ones that maybe actually talk about our objectives.
Yeah.
Because anyone else, if they have a free day, probably in the back of their mind, they're thinking, I'd kind of enjoy just not doing anything, or I'd like to completely shut down, or I want to get a run in. But when you vocalize it and you communicate about your objectives, it just puts people on the same page. And so I think other people do have objectives. They just don't talk about it. And then how can you be on the same page with the people that are in your life?
And that's great because it really does keep you on the same page, right? Because an objective might be, hey, we're going to relax. I'm going to finish this book today.
And if that's your expectation, but yet my expectation is I want to get in a good run, or I want to go on a good bike, or I want to sweat, I want to have adventure, then maybe we need to enjoy our days separately or we need to merge our objectives and our expectations because someone is going to end up with unmet expectations at the end of the day.
A classic one for us is maybe like one of your objectives is, hey, let's get the yard work done. And my objective is let's sit in the hot tub for the day. Right?
I can't sit in the hot tub for the day if I'm looking out at the yard and seeing all of these leaves that or the weeds that need to be done.
And the problem is I can't sit in the hot tub and watch you do yard work. It frustrates me. And even when you say, fine, I'll just do the yard work, you go sit in the hot tub, then I'm like, well, fine, I'll do the yard work.
Well, but I think for me, if I'd say, well, that's okay, I'll do the yard work, you sit in the hot tub, I'm not going to say it if I don't mean it.
Yeah,
so I don't say it as – I don't mean it as, well, fine, I'll do the yard work, you sit in the hot tub. That's just how you hear it.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother podcast.
That's a whole nother podcast.
That's
and we're
a
talking
whole
about
nother
goals.
can of worms.
Hey, it really is. And it's why we create Emotionally Intelligent, right?
That's right.
So why don't you give us the first one?
The first one is SMART. SMART goals. This was created in –
This is me, SMART.
It is you. Yes. This was created back in like 1981 by 3 guys.
81?
They wrapped this around, and it's an acronym for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. And they just use that acrostic for that. So, what's a specific goal? Now, if you're going to set SMART goals, and they're saying this is a SMART goal, it's how you goal set wisely.
Yeah.
Is, a very, very specific, what is it that you want to do and how can you measure it?
Yeah.
Well, is it achievable? So evaluating it and then looking at it and saying, okay, is it realistic? And so the achievable and realistic, they're similar, but you can dive deep onto both of those. And then time bound, as in you give a time frame.
Yeah.
And that's SMART goals.
Yeah.
And some people it really works just because the acrostic is so easy in the English language to remember.
Yeah, and what I love about the SMART goals is it typically always has a deadline, right?
Yes.
And we always are a big proponent. If it doesn't have a deadline, let's just call it a wish. Let's just call it a I hope so. And so I think the power is a deadline. The next one is BHAG. And it's a popular word. Jim Collins really made it popular and good to great, but it stands for big, hairy, audacious goal. And it's this idea that you have one overarching boom for this next year. This is the big goal. This is the big thing. This is like the gigantic boulder. You could look out 10 years. Companies have them for 10 years. And, I'm a big fan of having a 25-year goal, having this big BHAG that's out there 25 years, and then just prioritizing every quarter. And it's a different way to do it. But however it works for you, what's that big, hairy, audacious goal? And once you know that, it's really easy to set some of these milestones. And I think with that, you're really able to prioritize.
Very cool. Okay, so backwards. A backwards goal. Well, what is that? It's backwards. We're planning in reverse.
Okay.
So what we're doing is we're looking at where do we want to end up. We start with the end in mind, and then you reverse engineer it, and you work back, and from there you kind of develop a plan of action.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, I want to have $100,000 in my IRA by this time.
Right.
And in order to be able to do that, how am I going to do that? Well, I can do a calculator and I can kind of reverse engineer it and know, so that means today I need to put this much toward it.
Now, Lisa, help me. Does this work better with analytical brains? Because as you're describing this, I'm kind of lost.
No, I just used an analytical example.
Okay.
It could be, I want to lose weight. It could be, I want to run okay, no, this is a good one. And you do actually do a backwards goal. You're going to run a half marathon.
Right.
And this is the date of the half marathon. So
Okay.
how much do I need to run and what do I need to work up to? And that's essentially working backward.
Well, I think what's great about that is that I could never create it myself. But man, I can get somebody else's plan.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is, so the University of Iowa, and they did a study with university students. Go Hawkeyes.
Go Hawkeyes.
Woot, woot.
Yep.
And they found that students, the study of the students that did backwards goals, they were more motivated. They had a higher goal expectancy, as in they achieved their goals more frequently, and they also felt less time pressure. Because it wasn't, okay, I'm going to run a mile today and I'm going to run 3 miles next week. And we just know, okay, by 8 weeks from now, I'm going to run a half marathon. And then you kind of reverse engineer.
Well, you know what? I really appreciate that. But you know what I realize as you're describing it? I can't do it. I mean, I'm even thinking about our team meetings where we have the yearly planning meetings, and then we have some team members that are really good at taking I'm great at the 1 year goal. But I'm not so good at like backwards engineering it. But what I love about it is pulling on other people's strengths, because I can work the backwards engineered plan, but will Dennis be able to create it? It's really not my skill set. It's not my gifting.
It's not how your brain works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where we just want to encourage you. Listen, this is where having a team and having other relationships, I mean, maybe you need to backwards plan some of your in backwards goal set, and maybe you need to do that for your goals, but maybe you need bring somebody else in and share them with them and get some feedback like that. Somebody that can help you with that.
Well, and we created a 2024 goal setting worksheet.
Yeah. Yep.
And this 2024 goal setting worksheet is basically, it's a free downloadable PDF that you can go through and you can fill it out, and it goes through, and it's several pages, but it kind of walks you through what are your motivations, what are your desires, where do you want to be, and at the very end, it's like, okay, these are the goals I want to set based on kind of pulling out all of this information within you. Can you want to expound a little bit more on this?
Well, and it really dives into your uniqueness, because you're a unique person, which means you have unique goals. Right, and if you have unique goals, then you really have unique plans, and so it really plays into your personal uniqueness,
not your weakness.
Not your weakness.
Well, actually, no, your weakness too.
Part of it, yeah.
Your weaknesses and your strengths.
Right, so it's a very comprehensive tool, and we just want to give it to you for free, right?
Yeah.
No, nothing. Just
download it, use it to goal set for 2024.
Right, so there'll be a link there if you're listening on your phone. If you're watching on YouTube, we'll have a link there for you. So just click and download it. Next one, Lisa. OKR. Okay. And this was developed by Andrew. We didn't even plan that. How good are we? We're awesome. We should go on the road. Take this show on the road.
Oh, please.
Right? Oh, gosh. Okay, so this was really developed by Andy Grove at Intel. And it's kind of simple, right? It's sort of like two different ideas. You have outcomes, identify, the key objectives, and it's got to be a small number. Right? You can't have 100 objectives. So we're talking 2 or 3 objectives. So these are the 2 or 3 objectives, the outcomes. And then what are the key results? So take each outcome and say, what are the key results? And then from there, you set your goal. And it has this idea with key results is, what does it look like when it's done and done well? Almost like, what is the success criteria? So take each of your objectives and go, what's the success criteria for that? When it's done and done well, what does it look like? And then from that, you map out your goals. So OKR, objectives, and then key results.
Next one.
This one's my favorite one.
Really?
It is, yes.
Why?
It's simple. You know me, I'm simple.
Okay, so one word. Now, this is from the book, One Word That Will Change Your Life. And essentially, it's choosing one word.
You know what my one word that changed my life is?
Oh, what?
Lisa.
I knew that was going to be a joke coming. Okay, so from the book.
It's true, though.
One word that will change your life. Yeah. Okay, so you choose one word and you focus on that one word and use it to achieve your goals. So, for example, you have an increased sales goal. Or you want to build deeper family connections. So sales goal is the work environment, deeper family connections, and your one word would be to maybe connect or to. Can you think of another?
Well, Lisa, does it sort of become like a theme? Almost like this word becomes the theme for the year?
It's the word of the year.
Oh,
exactly.
Word of the year. Yeah.
It's that type of idea, but you can use it you could do one word in multiple different areas, or you could do one word for the year. Like my word for the year is joy or something
or it
like
could be
that.
Transformation. And then how that applies in
or connection, and then you wrap everything in your life kind of around that one word, or it's just one of those. It's a word that you place in front of you, so whenever you go to the refrigerator, whenever you turn your computer on, you see that word, and it reminds you, okay, connect or transformation or joy, and it just it brings it into the forefront.
Well, Lisa, and there's more energy when it becomes simple. When things are complex, like I've never had anybody say, hey, I really want to multiply this complexity in my life, right? It's like, no, but if it's simple.
Nobody?
Well, maybe there are some, right? But when it's simple, I just know it gives me this burst of energy. And I think that's what it does. It kind of simplifies the year. And then you have it's just an energy creator for you. So another one is hard. This is
Number 6 is hard.
Hard goals, right? So it's an acronym, right? It's heartfelt. And so there's got to be this emotion attached to it, right? Because all of your motion comes from emotion. And I think this is where, when you think about heartfelt, it's like, Lisa, what I've realized is you can't borrow somebody else's goals.
No.
Goals are personal, right? And anytime I've tried to, I hear a goal and I go, oh my gosh, me too. I love that. That's a great idea. But I really wasn't bought into it. It never worked. And so it's almost like, what do you really want? And only you know what you really want. So heartfelt, right? It's got to have the emotion, animated, and it's got to be very vivid and specific, right? So it's got to create this emotion, and then almost required. And here's the idea: is essential and mandatory. Almost like, hey, this is completely essential. It's mandatory. I have to do this year, right? Because you typically get in life what you demand from life. Mm-hmm. Not what you demand from other people, but you have to demand it from life and say, you know what, I demand this from life. I'm going to get this no matter what. And then difficult. And the idea is like, what's stretching and what's challenging to you, right? It's like, what's going to stretch you this year? So heartfelt, animated, required, and difficult. And it's a great
Because if it were easy, then it wouldn't have to be a goal. Well, if it was just something you were already doing and already established.
By nature, goals are supposed to be challenging, right? Because to that point, if it was easy, you would have already done it. I mean, we're working on some projects that literally, Lisa, they're very hard because it's challenging us in skill levels that we've just never developed before.
Or in areas of knowledge that we lack.
Yeah, but we set the goal in a little bit because we want to learn how to do that. And so we have an emotion attached to it. We want to, but we don't know how. And it's this idea. I think goals are supposed to transform us. And it's supposed to,
our lives.
Yeah.
Our lives.
In this idea of like, hey, are you better next year than you were this year? And the way that you do that is through goals.
Yep. Okay, so number 7 is WHOOP.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
WOOP.
Whoop.
Okay, so WHOOP is also an acronym. We love goals with acronyms. I think
we love acronyms.
We do, actually.
If you look at all of our thinking tools, it's like, how many acronyms do we have?
Our clients are all acronyms. Our thinking tools are all acronyms.
So if you are a client of ours, you are actually an acronym.
You have an acronym.
Hey, you know what? We even have team members that are acronyms.
Yeah, we do.
Right? She's not Mary Grace. She's MG.
Yeah, we have acronyms. So WHOOP, wish, outcome, obstacle, and plan.
Yeah.
It's very similar to, with the heartfelt. So wish it's got to be a goal that just excites you. Something that and for me, wish sounds wishy-washy. So WHOOP might not be necessarily something that I would be like wonder, or I would think of a different W. But this is WHOOP, and it's like wish. What do I really wish for? What really excites me if this could happen? And then outcome. So with outcome, what you do is you imagine this outcome in detail. It's you paint a picture in full color. And then it's the obstacles. So once you figure out what really excites you, the wish, and the outcome that is just in vivid, bright detail, the obstacles. Okay, so what are the hindrances? What are the hindrances that are there? And what do I need to do to remove them? And then the plan is actually how to go about removing the obstacles and the ways to achieve your goal.
It's really very similar to our goal funnel tool that we use with clients, where this whole idea of the only reason that we have obstacles, right? You have obstacles in here, which I think is fantastic because, Lisa, the reason I have obstacles is because I have goals.
This is probably one of your favorites because the word obstacle is in it.
I love obstacles because they really become sort of like the obstacles where I can be more creative, right? Inside of the obstacle kind of fuels that creativity. But when I set a goal, when I get this wish, right, and I have this outcome that I want, sort of that goal, and then boom, obstacles show up. And the reason I have obstacles is just because I have goals. So I sort of think like, listen, if you don't have obstacles today, it's probably because you don't have big enough goals. And this idea that obstacles are normal, they're kind of the fuel that takes you to that next place.
Or if you don't have obstacles today, it's possibly because you just aren't even aware, because everyone has obstacles and sometimes we're just not aware of them and we don't recognize them. And so then we don't know they come and jump right in front of us and we're like, whoa, where did you come from? And really, they were there all the time. We just didn't have the awareness to discover them.
Yeah, so you got to sit down and whoop first.
You have to
right?
whoop.
You got to whoop, right? Got the wish, outcome, boom, decide the obstacles, and then create this plan for it. Listen, the next one is tiered goals. And it's very similar to some of the other ones where you have this top level goal. And this is usually only one. This is the top level goal for the – so for us a lot of times –
kind of like the one word, but except it's a goal.
Right. In the way that really helps us with this is we just create like a revenue number. It's like, boom, the revenue number like for the organization becomes like that top. But inside of that, there's a whole lot of things that have to happen for that one number to get. But the great thing is every quarter we can measure to that number. And then look back at our action. So it's a tiered goal. It's a top level goal. And then you have intermediate goals. It could be quarterly plans. They could be monthly plans. And then under that, you have specific actions or tasks. So it's this whole day of one top goal, and then you have immediate sub goals, and you typically only want like 5 a quarter is a great focusing number. And then under those 5 a quarter, each one has specific actions. And then how we do it with our team is that every week when we have our team meeting is that it's just about the actions, right? We look at like, okay, the immediate sub goals, this is a sub goal for the quarter, but okay, what's the very next action? And we have conversations on actions, and it just makes it really real. And pretty soon, before we know it, boom, we have that top tier, that goal just happens.
And this is a method that we use frequently with our clients and their company.
Planning. Absolutely.
The quarterly planning, we go through and we utilize tiered goals for this is the goal for the year, and then we quarterly plan it out, and it's very effective, especially when you have a lot going on.
Yeah, it's a great focusing tool.
When it's a very complicated system or organization, or the goal is large and has multiple pieces, this tiered goals works really well.
Well, and the reason is the more complex things are, the simpler you have to make them.
Yeah.
Right? And and here's what I've discovered, the more complex things are, the harder it is to simplify. Right? Even we encourage our clients to, hey, what are the top 3 things every day? What is the top 3 for today? And you have a list of 50 things. And I know I've had this experience where I look at my list and I go, top 3, I got top 50. What do you mean top 3? But it's that act of actually prioritizing. And I think that's what tiered goals really does for people.
And number 9 would be big, small, quick, BSG. BSG.
I like quick.
Yeah, you do like quick. You like big and quick. Forget the small.
Yeah.
So this is think big. Think big. Create your biggest goal. And it's a little bit similar to a tiered goal, only different. It's think of your biggest goal, right? And then act small.
No, I love that phrase. I don't like small goals, but act small.
Act small.
It's a great
act small.
word picture.
Act small. It's small milestones. Small milestones that you have to hit along the way to get to that great big thinking big, that big goal. And really this act small is the key component to this type of goal setting.
Well, I think it creates momentum, right? And I think that's the power of it.
Absolutely. And then move quick. And that's the time frame you set into place. And so with this move quick, what you do is you've got your huge think big, and then you've got your act small, and you do small time frames because they're small actions. And the key is it's the smaller the action, the quicker the time frame. And so then if you can move and make quick actions repeatedly with small incremental segments of this goal, you reach your thinking big goal quickly.
And it's almost this rock like going downhill.
Yeah.
Right. And it just creates those momentum.
I think of a snowball, when you're trying to make a snowman, right?
Yeah.
And you have a hill, hopefully, because it really helps you because those snowballs get so heavy.
Yeah.
And they're so huge, and you can't, and you want to come down with the best snowman that we ever made was, I think, when we were in Poland, and it was this huge snowman.
It was like
and it
10
was
foot tall or something.
It was super
huge.
tall because we had to stand up on steps on the stairs going into the house to put the hat on, and it was huge. Well, how we made it was we had this thinking big what we wanted, but we had to act small, and we had to use the momentum of these small actions quickly to build up that snowball.
Well, and that's encouraging this because everything large starts small. So you might be starting small right now, but you're not going to stay small, right? You're going to get large, but you got to start small and go large.
Yep. Next one is micro goals. Now, this is really similar to the think big, act small, move quick. It's very, very similar, but they're micro goals, and it's setting small micro goals to get you to your destination, really.
Right.
So it's something simple like, I'm just going to do 10 follow-up calls a day, or I'm going to walk 30 minutes a day.
Yeah.
I'm going to drink 10 cups of water or 10 glasses of water a day. It's just different things that they're just micro goals. But you know that when you set that micro goal in place, if you do 10 follow-up calls a day, I mean, that's what, 50 follow-up. If you're working a 5-day work week, that's 50 follow-up calls in a week.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what, like 200 follow-up calls in a month. When are you going to realistically do 1,000 follow-up calls without setting that? Okay, I'm just going to do 10 follow-up calls a day. That's easy. That's so easy. But you think of the impact on at the end of the year, how many would that be?
A lot. I
don't know. You do your math, but it's like 200 in a month. That's a ton. Yeah. And think of the growth that you would have just by this little micro goal. And how much does a micro goal really hurt you? Doesn't at all, because it's just so minute, but you just do it day after day.
Well, Lisa, and I think this really works well when maybe like you're stuck.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so when you're stuck. And so we had a team member through the summer that just stuck. And so we just put this system in place, and we said, hey, for the next month, I'm going to talk to you every day for 5 minutes. And we're going to set micro goals for that day. Instead of talking every week and setting goals for the week, I said we really have to create some better momentum, some quicker action, because she just kind of stuck. And it made all the difference.
Yeah.
Right, which is every day 5 micro goals, like 5 calls, 5 emails, 5 this, 5 that. Okay, have a great day. Let's talk about the results.
That's all you have to do.
Yeah, and we just took a 5-minute call, and it just created – and we don't do it anymore because it created that momentum.
To get unstuck.
Right, so micro goals, if you feel like you're stuck, just create a micro goal. And maybe just say for the next month or the next 14 days or the next week, and then reevaluate it. So micro goals are great.
I love that if you're stuck, create a micro goal.
Yeah, that's it.
And just do something little.
Well, okay, and I think here's the thing, because when people don't know what to do, they're stuck. They don't know what to do. So guess what they do? Nothing, right? And nothing begets nothing. So you want to just kind of create some action. So micro goals are great if you're stuck. And then the last one, I kind of like this one. It's BAM.
You just like the name of it.
BAM. So let's BAM it. And so here's what it means, BAM, right? Another acronym because
we like acronyms.
Because we love acronyms, right? So basic. So you kind of set your goals in like 3 different levels. Like, hey, basic. This is the basic thing this year that we've got to get done.
Is it like the key overarching, the one thing that we have to do, or?
It could be multiple basic, right? But you don't want to make more than 5. It just gets a little confused. So you want basic. So maybe it's the revenue goal. Basic is what we got. And then A, achievable, which is a little bit of a stretch. And then M is miraculous.
Oh, so they're like if I could do this, it would be good. If I could do this, it would be great. If I could do this, man, it would be a rockin' year.
Right. And you almost, the way that I look at it is that you set these miraculous and just sort of see what happens. And see what sort of strategic byproducts as you're walking down this road. Because here's what we discovered, Lisa. There's sometimes where we just get the miraculous, right? An opportunity happens and you're like, wow, would it never? But the fact that we sort of set it out there and, put it out into the world, it just is kind of drawn to us. Yeah. So basic, achievable, measurable, or miraculous. So Lisa, for you, big takeaway from this conversation today?
That you can't do backwards goals. They don't work with your brain. I'm really, because
That's why they frustrate me when you want me to do it.
That makes so much sense because I love backwards goals. I'm like, okay, I don't really know what step I want to take today. I don't know what step I need to take in a year, but I know 5 years from now, this is what I want. And if this is what I want, what does somebody do to take to get there? And so I can just do that. And I kind of reverse engineer it. But it works really well with my brain. And it's just it's a super good example that all of these are just methods of goal setting. And you have to find your method because if you try to adopt someone else's, there's so many different really smart individuals and companies have great ways to set goals, but just don't adopt something because you're like, oh yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Yeah. Because it might not work for you.
So Lisa, I think for me, one word. And we used to do this maybe 15 years ago. I remember where we just said, hey, this is the theme or the word for the year. And
I actually did it 2 years ago and 3 years ago. I don't think I did it last year.
And so I'm going to get back to that.
Oh, good.
For 2024, I'm going to.
If you write it on your forehead, I would love it.
And just there all the time, right? It'll be great for the podcast when we're out keynote speaking. It's like, hey, what's that word?
And then you get to talk about it,
which talk about the theme for the year, and it would hold myself accountable. So we're going to get back to that one word because I think it just kind of it's like a rallying cry for the year, and then you base all of your goals on, hey, what is that one word? So Lisa, this has been fantastic. We're going to continue the conversation.
Yes, and we have the 2024 goal setting worksheet. It's free. Download it. Go through and just kind of figure out what it is that you want. How do you want to make this year different than this coming year, different than last year or the year before? Or life is different this year than it was the year before, and it's going to be different than next year. But this year, at the end of 2024, what is it that you would need to look back and say, wow, it was a really good year and I'm pretty proud of myself. So download the 2024 goal setting worksheet and use it. Don't just download it. Actually write in it and use it because it'll change your life.
Yeah, because it's powerful because when you get better, everything around you gets better. And we'll see you next time on the Drama Free Living Podcast.